sometimes I'm a soft talker myself. I all the time on stage will ask whoever's running the sound booth. I'm like, I'm a soft talker. Can you amp this up? Because I like to have the control to do voices and stuff like that on stage rather than I hate eating the mic.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm usually a soft talker off stage, but then when I get on stage, I don't know if I just like instinctively talk louder into the mic, but like, and sometimes I don't know, it depends on the acoustics. Like sometimes I'll try to talk so loud so that I can hear myself coming out of the speakers. But sometimes they're like facing away, so that if I do that, I feel like, oh, I'm probably overcompensating now.
Yeah.
I'm just blowing out speakers left and right.
Dude, I've blown out a speaker or two in my... I think I've broken on accident every piece of equipment at some point.
Old Hurricane Watkins.
I mean, you know me.
I know
me from so many mics and so many shows and so many bits that...
And Soul Train.
And so many things that no longer see the light of day.
Yeah. I still laugh about in Buco, the chair that you...
Oh, that was a fun one.
Yeah. Well, you weren't even on stage. You were just... Someone else was on stage, and you were like pretending to laugh so violently, you like broke the chair you were in.
Yeah, looking back at fun for us, pretty obnoxious moment for
George did not appreciate.
Yeah.
That was his name, right? George?
Was it?
I think so. The owner.
Oh yeah, there was a chair. There's a little backstory on this. There's a chair that was already breaking.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. All right, we could dispose of it, or we could do something fun with it.
Let me do him a favor.
So basically, there's a comic on stage, and there was like none of us at this open mic. There's hardly any of us
there. It was
there.
the end of the night. The whatever audience that would have been there had already left.
Yeah, it's just comics that are just like trying stuff out in front of each other. So it wasn't that disrespectful. Where I'm doing this to a comic who's like in front of a full crowd.
Yeah.
So a comic tries out a joke. I forget even who was on stage.
I don't remember.
But I basically start acting like I'm laughing so hard and hitting my knee, and then I start going back and forth that I fall out of the chair, and then when I try to get up back onto the chair, I keep putting all my weight onto it because I know it's breaking.
Like pressing down like all your weight.
And it just starts crunching, and like there's wood starting to fly.
Yeah, it's like splintering.
Yeah.
Did anyone catch that on video?
I feel like there is a video of it somewhere.
It's got to be somewhere. I don't know who, though.
Yeah.
Did I? Maybe I did.
It was one of those things where back in the day, we used to randomly just like, this is really before cell phones really took off with video. So like everybody always had like a flip camera.
Yeah.
Or like a little camcorder.
Grainy, the worst quality video.
The worst quality.
I still have the video of you singing to these random girls outside of Buco. You had the guitar.
Oh, what on, dude?
Yeah. And you just like made up a song on the spot. And they were digging it. They were like at first very dismissive of us because, you know, they probably thought we were like hitting on them.
Of course.
I'm sure some of us were.
Yeah.
But it was like I was trying to tell Ryan Coleman, because it was his guitar, I think.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell him, like, dude, just hit on them. Or
serenade
like, do
those
something.
girls
Serenade them.
with the guitar.
You're good at music.
He was
a great voice.
He had a great voice, and he could play guitar really well.
Yeah, but he was like so like bashful. He's like, remember his little giggle, like, no.
I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, no.
And then you just stepped in,
and I was like, really? You're not gonna do this? And you're a great guitarist and great singer. I said, give me your guitar. And I kind of showed him up like,
yeah,
in the moment.
It was great.
Yeah. Welcome back to another Jeremiah Wonders Roadcast. We're on the road right now. We're headed to Sunnyvale, California.
Sunnyvale.
Me and my buddy Omar Nava, one of my longest running pals in comedy. We started together in LA around the same time doing open mics, and have just been friends for a very long time.
13 years, my friend. Going on 14.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I moved here in 2010. I think you were here just a little before that.
Yeah, 2009, but I
Yeah.
started stand-up in 2010.
Yeah.
January. I was one of those New Year's resolution comics that you hear so much about.
Those guys.
Those guys.
And girls.
And girls.
And girls.
And,
And theys.
you know,
Thems.
yeah. All the above. But yeah, we're just reminiscing about, we were talking about earlier in the car just about some different stuff. But yeah, there's this place, Buco, that we used to go to that is now a crab place.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's an official crab shack or a crab shack knockoff.
Right.
But yeah, they do crab.
They do crab. It's like a boiling crab or one of those kind
Something
of
like
places.
that, yeah.
But it was on the campus right outside of UCLA. And we would bark and get college students into the show. And it was just where a lot of us from our class of comics cut our teeth of how to deal with hecklers, how to do crowd work, and then just how to captivate and hold an audience's attention. Because if they didn't like you, they would literally look at you, stand up, and walk out right in front of your face. No manners whatsoever. Just like, if this is right, and you'd hear on the way out, that guy's not funny. Like literally, you'd be like crushed. So you had to crush or be crushed.
Yeah. It was sink or swim out there.
Yeah.
And it was a great setup, at least for like an open mic. Because like downstairs was the bar, so people were getting drunk. And then upstairs they had the two rooms. The room where we did comedy, open mic.
Yeah. And then our greatest adversary.
Our nemesis.
Our nemesis.
The karaoke room.
Yeah.
So a lot of...
Probably contributes, honestly, to part of... Like, I've always liked singing and stuff, but I probably contributes to why I still sing in part of my act and stuff like that.
Oh, you think
because
so?
I think a little bit. Like, I've always liked doing it, but like I knew that when I did singing bits in the Buco room, I was like, forget that karaoke room over here.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a little bit of singing within the comedy, it'll keep them engaged. And those bits always did well. And I keep writing new music bits that end up in my act and stuff.
Here's the thing. You can sing in comedy. You can't make jokes in karaoke.
Hey. Very true.
But yeah, a lot of these kids would just go sign up for the karaoke,
dude,
and then while they're waiting for their turn, just come watch us.
I just had the image of somebody signing up for karaoke, and they're like, "Hi, could I do Eddie Murphy Raw, please?" And then they're just just doing like it has all like the words on screen and stuff like that.
That's so funny.
That'd be a fun. I don't know, something. I don't know. I don't know how you get that across. It's something.
It's something. It's a sketch, maybe.
Yeah.
Cutaway.
Now,
scene.
what are all these plants that you see out here? Do you think?
These look like trees. This looks like a baby orchard.
I'm getting some weird frequencies on this drive. I'm wondering if it's the semis or if it's even showing up. I think we got it. Anyway, if it doesn't show up in the audio, people just think I'm having a stroke or something.
Yeah. What are these weird? Why does it smell like toast out here? Why do you think?
What are those? You call them trees? I'm just completely having a full-on meltdown.
Goes
like melting. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to Sunnyvale. So, yeah, Omar and I have been doing comedy a long time.
We were talking about this. This kind of blew my mind a little earlier. We had this in common where when we were first starting to go to the Comedy Store together, there's a talent coordinator that was kind of feared by a lot of people. He had a lot of swing, he had a lot of pull, he had a lot of power.
And he liked to kind of remind you of it, not like
Oh,
explicitly, but
yeah.
like he definitely would wield. He knew that
He would put
he
you in
was
your
the
place a
gatekeeper.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
He liked the power of wielding the gatekeeper title. He
Yeah.
really enjoyed having that over comics and over people, and having comics do some groveling. Honestly, he liked them go because what it felt like is at the Comedy Store when you walk up in the original room, there's about 4 or 5 stairs before you enter to the ticket booth of where the original room is before you're led into the original room.
Yeah.
Now, as an audience member, this is a very normal set of stairs. But as a comic who's intimidated and maybe not 100% self-assured, not totally confident in yourself yet, and you're developing, you're really inside your head, to me, those flight of stairs, when I would see him in that booth,
Yeah.
it felt like a castle that you were like walking up to, battle a dragon or something like that.
Well, it was like he was the figurative gatekeeper, but also the literal gatekeeper. Like he
Yeah.
would work the box office for the open mic and just stand there.
So he's also decided, like, if you, like, as a comic, if you wanted to hang out, you'd have to go through him
Yeah.
and be like, hey, can I come in? And
Right.
he's literally the guy and the decision maker who's, you're staring and looking at. And he's keeping time. Like, that was another intimidating thing. If you ran the light back in the day, he kept the time. You had to
Yeah.
answer to him, like at the mic and on the shows in the original room. So that added an intimidating factor. Like, oh, I can't run the light. Like, literally,
Right, like
the guy
the
who's
guy.
booking me is literally on the light timing me. So he knows if I run or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very intimidating.
But he got let go from the Comedy Store, we'll say, to put it nicely. And Omar told me that years after he was no longer at the store, Omar went and visited him in Honduras. What the frick? Let's talk about this for a quick second, because anybody who knew Tommy at the Comedy Store, and this is very inside LA baseball, so I'm trying to break it down for our listeners. Basically, this guy was a big shot. He was a big deal. He held a lot of power. That's all what you need to know. And he
Yeah.
held a lot of power for, what, a decade almost in
Yeah,
LA?
I'm not exactly sure when
Maybe
he
not
started,
that long, but
yeah, for quite a few years, he was the guy who, more or less, I think there was a little more input also, but I think he was the guy who said who would get passed.
no, he was.
And
There wasn't like a
yeah.
committee like there is kind of now, where there's a little bit more checks and balances, where there's a showcase process with multiple people that have to see you. He was the guy, make or break, to both, I think, Omar and I, which is a frustrating thing, kind of alluded and kind of promised and kind of dangled the carrot of, hey, I'm going to make you a paid regular.
Yeah.
Like,
quite a few times kind of teased it. Not I don't know if he was teasing or if it was actual true, but
yeah,
he
who
was,
knows if there was real
yeah,
follow through or not, but he got fired before he
Yeah.
passed either one of us.
he made it seem like it was right around the corner for both of us,
Yeah.
and then he was let go,
Yep.
sadly.
Omar, you said that you ran into him in Honduras because you were working a cruise in the area, yeah?
Yeah, so I used to work on cruise ships, doing stand-up on cruise ships, and one of the routes that was like a very common, like, for this cruise line Caribbean route, always stopped in Roatan, Honduras. So I'd done this route like a handful of times, and for those who don't know, Roatan, it's like this like island right off the coast of Honduras, and they have like really good snorkeling there. Like, I guess it's like a pretty big, but also, well, like big, but like also kind of like secretive. Like, not too many people know about it. But yeah, I'm still friends with this guy on Facebook, Tommy, and I saw something about him like performing in Honduras, and because he would do guitar and like play music. He's like a singer-songwriter type as well. So yeah, like after he was let go of the store, I guess he moved down there and was just like performing. And so I messaged him. I think I Googled like what hotel he was at, and it turned out to be on Roatan, Honduras. So yeah, I just messaged him like right before a cruise, a contract that I had that was gonna go out there, and I was like, "Hey, Tommy, do you live on this island? Like, I'm gonna be there for my cruise. Like, we always stop there. It's gonna be these dates. Are you gonna be around?" And he was like, "Yeah, come on down. I'm on this side of the island. Just let's meet at this cafe or resort." And I was like, "All right." So I went down there. I asked the other comic that I was working with that week if he wanted to go with me. And I also just assumed he knew Tommy, because like I was telling you, like how we were saying, he's this big gatekeeper of like the biggest comedy club in LA.
And you find out like later on, you're like, oh, like we built him up in our bubble in our community.
Yeah. Like, because he was the gatekeeper of our club that we had to kind of answer to if we ran the light, that we had to like grovel in front of to.
And it feels monumental to us.
Yeah. So we're starting out, we're like, this is the guy.
So we just assume like, you know who Tommy is, right?
You know, Saint Peter of comedy?
Yeah.
At the pearly gates? So I just assumed anyone who passed through LA and wanted to perform at the Comedy Store knew this guy. And I asked this other comic friend of mine from the cruise, his name's Mike. He's based out of Cleveland. I was like, yeah, Tommy, you know Tommy. He's like, nah. I don't think I know him.
By the way, Tommy is notorious for giving good advice to some people, but also saying some pretty rough things to some different comics. Like, I guess Hannibal Buress came in, and really? He wouldn't put him up. He goes, "I see you as more of a writer." I was like, what the frick? And this is like when he like had a lot of stuff going on and stuff like that. I feel like Tommy would hear stories of what Mitzi would do to people back in the day. And he's like, well, I'm going to do something like that. Like, and I feel like he would do his own interpretation of like saying like really extreme things to different comics just so stories would kind of circulate about him.
Yeah. And I also think I think he had a sort of almost outdated idea of like what a roster, like a comedy roster, should look like. Like, I truly think he was trying to check boxes.
No, he was.
Like, because so I used to have really long hair when I moved to LA. Like, it was like down to here to my shoulder. And a lot of people thought I looked Native American. And then I like wrote jokes about how I looked Native American with my hair. And I was told this by Tony Hinchcliffe. We went to do La Jolla Comedy Store together, and on the ride back, he told me, he was like, "Yeah, man, shouldn't have cut your hair." I go, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Tommy was fast tracking you because they didn't have a Native American comic like on the squad, on the roster."
Oh my!
And even though I wasn't Native American,
you looked it enough.
I had the look, and I could have, checked that box. So I cut my hair and sabotaged my career. But yeah, so I think he just had like you said, like maybe he picked things up from Mitzi from like the 70s or 80s. So like, this is what we need.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my friend Mike, he'd never heard of this, or like I think he like maybe had heard of him, but there was no like awe and like reverence like we had for him.
Yeah, he's like, okay, it's some dude.
Yeah, he's like, all right.
Yeah.
And so we go and we meet him, and he looks just like he did. Tommy, with his muscle shirt, his classic, whenever he'd take off his Comedy Store shirt, he just had like a white muscle shirt on.
Yeah.
And he seemed very happy. Like, he seemed like happy to be there. But then the conversation just, like, I don't remember a lot of the specifics, but the general vibe I got was that he was still very bitter about getting ousted from the Comedy Store. And I think having all that power basically stripped from him
probably was pretty harsh reality check.
Yeah, because like, I can't imagine what's going on in his head, but for me, it's like, because this was years later too. It wasn't even like the month after he was let go. This was like years later. In my head, I just assumed, you might have like moved on and just been happy to live in paradise every day, performing for tourists and
that are probably so happy to be there.
But he just like was talking about the Comedy Store and people, and like kind of like you could tell there was like a sort of disdain for people who like kind of he felt wronged him, and how he felt the whole situation was like unfair to him. And
well, you stop having also like people give you free stuff and like treat you a certain way because you don't have that power anymore. So it's probably just like, oh, this sucks.
Right. Like just to all of a sudden lose all that respect or fear that you thought was respect.
Well, there's also another infamous story that he passed one guy so he could get free studio time with him.
Oh,
like
really?
whenever he wanted. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
As a musician.
Yeah.
Because he had a legit like studio setup, and he's like, all right, I'll make you pay regular.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like the conversation. Like I said, I don't remember exactly what we talked about, but I got this sense of like, oh, he's not over it. Like he still feels important. Like he still feels like he deserves to be on the throne.
Yeah.
And then like he did most of the talking. Like afterwards, he like at the end kind of asked me a few questions like, how's the cruise, how's comedy, whatever. But like the majority of the conversation was him talking at us. And afterwards, Mike and I were leaving, and he was like, man, that guy's an asshole. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I know that type. Just like self-important. Like, you know, he didn't even talk to us. Like he didn't ask me a single question. I'm a comedian. I've been doing it for like 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't ask me a single thing about my life.
Right.
And I was like, yeah,
that's one
true.
of the number one signs of a narcissist is never asking the other person. Like if it's all a one-sided conversation the entire time, then that's
I think it was. I'm not defending him, but I think another thing was Tommy might have been dismissive of Mike because Mike mostly does cruises and like golf clubs and things like that. Like I don't know that he performs at like many like clubs anymore, or at least like not the big city clubs. I think he performs at clubs around the Midwest.
Well, and also Tommy, the store was the ultimate. So it's like if you didn't perform there, then who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing.
I think he did ask him like maybe like once, like at the beginning, like where have you performed or whatever, and he told him like, I do cruises, or I do whatever in Cleveland. And
this guy's a boat yucker.
Boat yucker. That's so funny. This guy's a ship giggler. So I think when he found that out, I think he immediately dismissed him and focused his ire on me.
Yeah.
But it was crazy, and I took this photo with him. And I told myself I was going to post it on social media, been like, like it would have just been literally for us, like you were saying, like inside baseball, just like the LA comedy community, and just been like, yeah, this cruise was great. Got to see the sights of Roatan, but then I just kind of forgot to.
Can we include it in this episode?
Sure, yeah, I'll text it to you.
Here's the picture right here, guys, in all its glory. Wow.
The joke with Tommy was that he looked like who's the
Tom Petty?
Tom Petty,
yeah,
with the hair. So you might see that in the photo.
Yep. Yeah. So if there's any comedians listening, or like anybody who's like in or outside the business, it's just a good reminder: is some things are completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't matter how talented you are or funny you are as a comic. There's other things and other motives that are going on that you might deserve the spot, or you might deserve to be at a certain club, or this goes for certain jobs too. But like sometimes it's out of your control, and you just got to keep pushing forward because, in my opinion, those people get phased out, and you will find your right space if you keep working hard. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Because it's just, there's so much behind the scenes stuff sometimes that we're unaware of, that we're like, oh, this has nothing to do with like whether they even think I'm good enough or funny enough or whatever. Like,
right.
They're like, oh, I was planning on booking this type of person. Like I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
this slot to be filled.
Yeah. So yeah, keep that in mind with like JFL showcases and comedy clubs, like Jeremiah
Yeah.
said. Like sometimes they are like checking a box, and it doesn't have to be as racist as we need a Indian comic, but it'll be like, we need like a low energy, or like we need a high energy
Yeah.
physical act or whatever. So yeah, you never know what people are thinking, like why they make their choices.
Now we're going through some golden wheat fields, it looks like.
Ah, yes. Reminds me of settling this island nation I once visited called Catan.
Oh, dude, we've gotten down on some Catan over the years, my friend.
Yes, sir.
I love me some Catan. Am I the best player? Absolutely not. But I have a good time doing it, and I have a good time losing, and it fuels me to want to play again because I'm the kind of player who, as soon as I lose, I say, run it back.
Reset the board.
Reset the board. Nobody's
We're
going
going.
anywhere. Lock the doors. Your boy is playing again until he gets at least one W.
Do you like build alliances, or are you pretty quick to like burn bridges and like,
I try to build somewhat alliances. Like, are we cool? Are we cool? But then
Yeah.
like I see red after a while. If somebody's starting to make certain moves, I'm like, oh, I'm just done with you.
Screw you, dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm usually like just a nice, like, I won't be like vindictive, like, oh no, you put the robber on me, you're excommunicated.
I'm very petty.
I'm not. I'll still like trade with people.
Yeah.
Because it's all like whenever I'm trading, it's to help me.
Sure,
it's like I'm
sure.
not just gonna trade to help someone else. So like, I'm like nice about it, and Kylie hates that.
That you're
'Cause-
nice.
Well, it's
like that
because
you'll still do business with people after they
yeah,
screw you
well,
over.
it's not even that. It's just because when I'm nice and like I don't burn any bridges, I'm still like happy to trade with anyone.
Yeah.
Then it ends up helping me, and so not that I win more often than not, but whenever I play with Kylie, I win more often than not.
Sure.
And so she just gets mad. She's like, "This is what he does, people." Like,
Watch
I'm just
out.
like happy to trade. Like, no, this is what he does.
Yep.
He gets on your good side, and
Uh-huh.
you might be trading to help yourself build a road, but he's gonna drop like 3 cities right now. And so,
Are you good at Monopoly?
I think so. It's been so long since I've played, but also the game never ends, so I don't even know.
It's
Maybe.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I love Monopoly. If
My-
people are down to play, I freaking love Monopoly.
My brother and I had like, did you ever have those games that just lasted for weeks?
Yes.
We would like move the board like ever so gently to like make sure nothing shook and anything, and like I think we like tried to have like our other brother like count the money to make sure like none of us was cheating putting it back out. God.
That's a fun, simple time.
Yeah.
When you're just so focused on that. We had did you ever the different kinds of Monopoly? Did you ever play any of those?
Yeah, we never owned any, but I've over the years have played some of those random ones.
We owned a Star Wars version, and that was fun.
Oh.
Yeah. So like Baltic was like the swamps of Dagobah.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. So that was cool.
Nerd.
I know. Yeah, exactly. You just flip over the camera. You snap the headpieces. Like, yeah. Happened, dog.
That's cool. What were the little icons? They weren't still the shoe and the iron, were they?
No, it was dope. It was like a TIE fighter, an
Okay.
X-Wing, a Y-Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I think there was even like a Han Solo in carbonite as one of the pieces.
Oh, that'll be fun.
I think so.
Yeah.
I might be making that last one up, but I feel like
Yeah, if it wasn't, it should have been.
I know, yeah. I
Like,
felt like I don't know if I'm like suggesting ideas to them now,
yeah,
or if
like he literally was a life-size
yeah,
piece, Monopoly piece.
right.
That's cool. I recently played this. God, this like crazy. Speaking of nerds, this like crazy board game that like it.
Drop a comment if you nerds are still listening right now. You like this
Yeah.
hot content about Catan,
Board
Star Wars,
games.
Monopoly, board games, but continue.
Well,
Earn some extra pocket change for that Black Friday shopping with Draftkings. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL action to score 150 instantly in bonus bets. No matter your appetite, there's something for you. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, and so much more. You name it, they've got it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code SACS. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score 150 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code SAX. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. DraftKings, get inside the games in all the sports and all the betting, because you're going to like the way you feel after you do the DraftKings. Come on, give them the best on Black Friday.
This game, it's called like Return to Dark Tower, and I showed up to a friend's house recently, and they just had it already set up. And I was
Did
like,
they make
"All
a movie out of the Dark Tower? Or is this something completely different?
Maybe. So
Okay.
they apparently this game, the Dark Tower was a game in the 80s, and there was this tower that was like mechanically operated. Like you'd put batteries in, and it had like little motors and stuff, and it would like turn and like drop things and stuff. And
I think this is an Idris Elba movie.
oh, interesting.
Maybe.
Maybe. So I guess like this game is like pretty sought after by like collectors, because the tower, it was like the 80s, so like the electronics like fell apart, like
Yeah.
broke very quickly.
Yeah.
So if you find a version with like a working tower, an original, I'm assuming it goes for like thousands of dollars.
Wow.
But so my friend, his dad had it, but the tower's broken, so he never got to play it. So he saw like a Kickstarter for this company, like bought the rights to like make the sequel, or make a version of it. So they made a sequel, but it's like they're using like current technology. So the tower is like huge. It's like this tall, looks like an obsidian obelisk, but inside it's got like all these motors and stuff, and it's connected via Bluetooth. So like it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons meets Catan. So there's like a dungeon master, but it's like an app that guides you through the story. And after every turn, it like the tower does something, and the app updates, whatever. It was pretty intense. We played for 3 hours and lost.
Yo, I'm low-key excited about this.
You want to go play?
I mean, might have to happen.
We can go. You remember that episode of Seinfeld where they go to that girl's house and she has all the old school games, and Jerry like gives her like turkey and wine so that she falls asleep, and while she's sleeping he just like plays with the games.
That's so funny.
We can do that with them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Except we need them. We need 4 people, because it's a collaborative game.
So the Improv just had their 60th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised. There were some old school comics that decided to show up. I saw Jay Leno there. I saw
right.
Larry David, and I was shocked that Larry David showed up.
Yeah.
And I guess I forget who it was. I was talking to one of the comics, and they decided to go up to Larry David.
I'm laughing because he already told me. He already told me the story, but keep going.
I haven't shared it on the podcast yet. This girl is a giant fan, comic as well. Walks up to Larry David and goes, "Larry, I just interrupted wherever he's. I was like, Larry, I just want to let you know, I just think that you're so amazing, and I love all of your work." And he just goes, "Eh." Dude, I got legit so happy when she told me that story, and she was even laughing when she told the story, because she's like, she got a Larry David moment out
the
of
most
the story.
Larry David reaction.
Like, why are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
I'm talking here.
Yeah. Is it? You think after 60 years, you know?
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, dude. Classic LD.
Classic Larry David.
Yeah, man.
You didn't talk to those guys, right? Jay Leno or Larry David?
No, I was. This is just constantly showing you where you're at on the totem pole. I was trying to step onto the red carpet for a photo, and Jay Leno pulls up, and they like all but threw me off of the red carpet to get Jay Leno on so he could walk straight on because they didn't want him waiting,
No.
Because otherwise they probably would have lost their one chance at getting a photo of him.
Yeah.
And I get it, but it was very like I was like, hey, and they're like, excuse me, Jay's here. Like I was like, okay,
like, can you move your nose out of the way?
I'm like, oh, it's gonna take a while.
All
He's gonna have to walk around. Yeah, it was definitely. I was like, I'll come back later. It's not a big deal. Like some people think that you are gonna be aggressive, and you're like, dude, I don't care. It's fine.
It's a photo. I can Photoshop myself in there later.
Yeah.
Hugging Jay Leno.
Yeah. Dude, my nose and his chin in one picture, that's a sight to see, my friend. Or somebody Photoshopping my nose on his face.
The profile is just like...
yeah. They finally like are in harmony.
Yeah. Who is this quarter crescent moon face
what is
fellow?
going on? Somebody needs to Photoshop that, whoever's listening or watching. If you can Photoshop my nose profile on Jay Leno, there you go, ladies and gents. There you are.
Yeah, you heard about this?
I'm congested and also can't get any of my chin straps to work on my football helmet. What's going on here? Classic Jay Leno joke.
Classic.
Passing by some power lines.
Yeah.
I actually didn't grow up with any power lines that looked quite like this. Mine,
I think, these are like special power lines that are
these are like industrial, yeah?
Yeah, they're like providing power to like, a whole city, it looks like.
Yeah.
Like
it
when
looks
you're
like something's
in
going
your
on.
city or town, they're just like regular, like telephone pole type.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like, maybe they're coming from like a solar farm or something, or a wind farm, or
Yeah.
you guys can't see, but
Omar,
use your mind's eye.
Omar, it was your birthday, that one karaoke birthday. Do you remember? No, wait. It was Michelle. It was Michelle's.
Michelle Livio's birthday.
Yeah, it was her birthday.
Yeah.
That one night. That's like a timestamp to me of when I was like, I'm gonna be friends with Omar forever, because we both sang Journey karaoke, and we
Don't
both
stop believing.
it's a hack song at this point, but 10 years ago, was it? Had it been hacked yet? 13 years ago, we don't know. It probably was.
Yeah, we were open mic comics, so we were hacks.
Like, yeah, exactly. So we're like, we're gonna choose something that's gonna tear the roof off the place.
I bet you guys never heard this one.
Down. So we sang a duet of that, and that was to me like a stamp in time where I was like, this guy's awesome.
And we went in. It wasn't like, don't stop. It was like,
dude, fully going for it, fully committing, hitting the high
battle.
notes.
I had long hair. You had your longer hair.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
It was same. I think of that memory and I'm like, oh yeah, me and Jeremiah are gonna be buddies.
And also me, you, and Gil Garibaldo, and I'm sure there's a couple other comics as well, but us riffing in the rain for like hours outside of Cafe Muse. I don't know if you remember that. But there's just some nights where it'd just be raining, but like we didn't want to go to our cars or we didn't want to go home, so we'd just be standing in the rain, like riffing outside.
Yeah.
Or we'd go back to my porch. That porch, we used to have the spot on where I used to live in my first place in LA, where there was an old school magical energy that brought all these comics together at the end of the night, where everybody would go do their own mics, or we'd all hit the same mic together. But we knew that if we needed to hang out really, really late, that the porch was available. And it felt like this magic area because, dude, we were so freaking loud
Oh yeah.
on the front porch, and we never got noise complaints ever.
No, well, because it was like the place you lived in. It was like a house in front of an apartment building, but the porch was facing away from that building.
Yeah, so the noise would go out towards a public park on the other
Yeah,
side,
like a
and
public
it was
park / water, like community pool. So like at that hour, it's closed. No one's there. So
Yeah.
you just do whatever
so
we
the
wanted.
noise would go out that way, and then on the left side was crackheads and meth heads and stuff like that, and then
Yeah.
on the other side it was just like an Armenian apartment complex, like that, like mainly Armenian people live there, and like I feel like they don't want to call the cops, like so they're just like they're like whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a perfect bubble.
Yeah,
where,
and it was so centrally located, like you're saying. Like even if we all did different mics across the city, your place was like in the middle of it all.
Yeah, it was in Hollywood, and then there's tons of just parking where you could just park on, which is rare for Hollywood. Easy
Yeah.
parking, central, and then open as late as we want. So
Porch hang was always open.
I remember
24/7.
what I would do is the hang would go so late sometimes, and I would have to work at Starbucks the next day or whatever, where I would start dropping hints where I would slowly start getting ready for bed, one article of clothing at a time, where when by the time I was in basketball shorts, and then when I was in glasses, basketball shorts, and then after I brushed my teeth, then I was like, all right, you guys gotta go. I have to go to sleep now. It'd be
Yeah.
like 4 a.m. or whatever, 5 almost.
It's funny that to wait till you're brushing your teeth, like a very obvious, like, I'm going to bed now, and we're just like, yeah, this open mic, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We're like still talking.
Still going, just riffing, going hard. dude.
Yeah. Those were the days.
We had a porch mic even in my front lawn, where if you look at the photos of the comics who did the open mic in my front lawn, a lot of them are like very, very successful comics now that
Yeah.
that did this. I remember, I think it was Gil or somebody took photos like of the mic, and it was, there's a lot of people who like are very successful comics that did that mic, and that was probably like 12 years ago or 11 years ago, and it was just kind of cool to see. I'll have to try to find those to include some of those photos in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty dope.
It is crazy, like, doing these random, like, coffee shop open mics,
Yeah.
porch open mics, laundromat open mics
Yeah.
with someone who goes on to be, like, the Bill Burr of our generation or whatever.
Yeah, like you really never know who's gonna end up popping and being like the breakout person out of your group.
Yeah.
I think we all knew early on, also because it started happening early, like at the open mics and stuff like that. Just witnessing it. Gerard Carmichael in our group was. There's certain people that get plucked, I call it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so rare that I don't think it's fair to really say. Like this person made it earlier or whatever, because also making it is a very relative term
Yeah.
to whatever comic you follow. But I feel like some comics get plucked from obscurity and they get on a path where they start, like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, they were doing open mics like a couple years ago, and now they're like a regular on a TV show, or they've got an HBO special, or they've got like a full-on career.
Yeah.
That's real interesting. That was an interesting one to see for sure, like firsthand. That was like the first one I saw where I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Especially
Yeah.
coming from Kansas and like Texas and stuff. You see that, you're like, oh, it's possible. It's just like you're like baffled by it.
I remember we were at the open mic, the IO West open mic. It was a late night Sunday open mic, and I can't remember if I was hosting or not, but Gerard stops in, but he got there after it started.
Mm-hmm.
So I must have been hosting, because I think I asked him, like, oh, did you want to get on the list? He's like, oh, no, it's all right. And I was just like catching up with him, like, hey man, like, well, what's up? I haven't seen you this past week, and normally you'd see Gerard every week at every open mic, and I didn't see him like for a couple weeks. So I was like, oh, where you been? And he was like, oh, it's just like JFL or whatever. And I was like so naive about it all. I was just like, I don't remember what I asked him, but basically, whatever I asked him, I could tell he was like, "Oh, bless your heart," like you don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like a crazy thing of like, oh, I see him at open mic, so I
we're
just
doing the same
assumed-
thing. Yeah.
Then we were very clearly not doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was either in that conversation or another conversation where I asked him where he was, and he said he was some city, and I was like, I don't remember if I asked like, I think I asked him like, oh, were you headlining? And he's just kind of like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just seeing anybody that you know firsthand doing the thing that like sometimes feels very elusive
Yeah.
is fun and cool. Because you're just like, oh, you're doing the thing I want to be doing. How? How do you get there?
Yeah.
Like there's
It seems so far off.
Yeah, it's such an invisible ladder, especially starting off doing an open mic. You're like, where do I even begin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now, years later, we're on the road doing our own shows.
Driving through wheat fields.
Wheat fields. Very golden wheat fields.
I don't even think this is wheat. I think it's just yellow grass.
I'm starting to agree with you. I think it's burnt up grass.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's got
it looks
a little
like
bit of
golden.
shag to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. What was you did the CBS Diversity Showcase. You were one of the writers on that,
Mm-hmm.
and I went and saw your show. It was very good, by the way. What was that process like for somebody who's wanting to get into something, like apply for like a writing showcase or like a character showcase or something like that, like at a network level? Because that's like a very revered, respected thing that is put on for like a lot of people to showcase different people and stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a great, amazing opportunity. I really enjoyed it. However, they like run it differently now, so it would be hard to apply for that specific one now.
Gotcha.
Because basically the way and my year was very interesting because we were the transition year where literally halfway through we changed our longtime director, the guy who was like running this showcase for the past whatever it was, like 10 years. He not that he got me too'd, but it was like during this wave of
You got me 3 a little bit.
he's very old school, so he would just say like some things
Yeah, Toots, come over here.
hey darling, you want to make it in this town? It wasn't like that egregious, but like he would just say things that were
He didn't have a casting couch. He had a casting futon.
a casting fold out.
Let's just say that it was a couch that I identified as something else.
Yeah. But he and then the woman above him, like executive, they were just like old school, like you're too fat for this sketch or whatever, like very superficial.
Yeah.
And he also, like, maybe this was a thing like in the 90s. He also very much was like checking off boxes. Like every showcase started with like a roll call musical sketch where it's like, blah, 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 we're doing diversity. We got the black guy, the Mexican, the person in the wheelchair. Like they would literally just
saying it out loud.
Yeah. And that's how every showcase opened, like up until my year.
Like,
so
we have some notes on the opening diversity cold open.
Yeah. So our year, it was like along with the whole Me Too wave of like people were just fed up with that stuff, and like finally like putting their feet down of like, we're not going to work with these people, and so CBS as a network removed them from the show. But it was like halfway through, like this was a months-long program. We were 2 or 3 months in, and then they brought in a new director, co-directors, and they were former performers on the showcase. And so, so just halfway through, we had to pivot. But even like, so before my year, I was told they would hire like, not hire because we weren't getting paid, but they would accept like 100 or like 80 to 100 writers, right? And everyone's just submitting sketches because they were playing a numbers game, trying to get as many sketches as they could and then pick out the good ones to then use to put on for the showcase, the performance. For my year, they whittled it down to like 30 or 40, which is still like a lot. But I think because the time commitment was like during the week, like 2 days during the week, you didn't have to, but if you could, chances are you'd build better connections and hopefully submit more sketches that would get included in the final showcase. And then some people just couldn't make it because like their day job. So I think, again, like a numbers game, like we're just going to accept 40, but maybe only 20 will show regularly and submit sketches regularly. And then after my year, it changed again where they were only looking at previous performers to be writers for that year.
Gotcha.
So that's why I was saying I don't think it's as feasible now to do that program as a writer. It seems like the route now is you audition to be a performer, an actor, and then the next
they
year
might have you be a writer.
They
or
might
whatever
ask you
the
back
following
to come back and help write sketches for the next year's performers.
Okay.
But all that being said, I enjoyed it still. At the time, I had like a part-time job where I was able to make it to as many of these rehearsals as I could, because my thinking was, A, I have the time, and B, I want to get as much out of this program as I can.
Yeah,
so
of course.
My personal goal was I want to submit a sketch for every rehearsal, which was crazy because, like I said, it was 2 rehearsals a week for the first like 2 or 3 months, or 2 months, and then 3 rehearsals a week after that. And so I was just like trying to pump out as much material as I could, trying to co-write sketches with a bunch of other writers, trying to get friendly, not like just for networking purposes, but also just like because the actors were like some of the funniest comedic actors I've ever known. They're all like, UCB, Groundling, Second City improviser actors. So they're like funny, like the riffing with them was like great too. And one of the guys that I met from that program, like he's still one of my really good friends. Like, I think Kylie and I are going to try to hang out with him and his girlfriend next week. But yeah, like I just loved all the actors. They were all so nice and so cool, and just like collaborating with them, learning how to collaborate on sketches and like getting feedback from the actors, like with the characters that they like to play and like how they envision, whatever sketch.
How to take their notes and all that. Yeah.
It was very helpful because like if you just do writing, like you might, whatever's in your head, you try to get it on the page as well as you can, but then when the actor gets it, they're like I don't know, like this doesn't work, or like I
see it more like this.
And it's really important to like learn how to take those notes and like really understand their input, take their input, because they understand how it's gonna go from the page to performance,
page to stage,
the page to the stage. So yeah, I really enjoyed that whole process, and it led to a couple cool opportunities. Like afterward, it kind of indirectly led to me working for Will Smith's production company for a couple months.
That's dope.
Which was pretty cool, yeah. And in that job, I kind of got a taste for like what a writer's room could feel like. Because with the rehearsals, like you would submit your sketches overnight, and then they would just pick the ones they wanted to do dry read of.
Yeah.
The day of. So there wasn't much collaboration in the rehearsal. It was like you would meet it with the writers off hours or with the actors. But this was like we were all in a room. We were like pitching ideas for like videos that Will Smith could shoot. It was at the time where, I don't know if you remember, but there was like a point where he really like ramped up his online presence.
Yeah.
He like made it a point to like, oh, I'm gonna go hard on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And so his production company, Westbrook Entertainment, there was like this team of us where we were like pitching and trying to come up with ideas for his channel. So yeah, that was really cool. I enjoyed that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of sketch, Omar and I were in a sketch group called Gringo for a. How long do you think that was? A year and a half?
Yeah, I think
Somewhere around there?
yeah, maybe 2 years.
Maybe 2 years? Yeah. Oh, yeah, because we did seasons.
Yeah, there
we did
was-
multiple. We did 3 seasons, right?
Was there a third season?
I think so.
Okay.
Which is never a good sign to.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite sketch that we did out of the Gringo sketches? Because what I might do to close the episode is I might put that sketch at the end if I can find that sketch. Is there any that come to mind at all?
You know, like every now and then, like Facebook memories will show me whenever we were promoting these sketches years ago, it'll be like, you know, it's been whatever 8 years since the competition or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and so I'll just like watch them and be like, man, I think these are really funny. Like,
some of them were legit funny.
Like
Some of them were
I
legit
really
funny.
am sad that they didn't get as much like views as I wanted them to.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was our first sketch, but the one where John is mugging us, I think that's like one of the tighter sketches.
That one got the hands one.
Yeah.
That one got that was like a finalist in a Funny or Die competition.
Yeah.
Because
So
that one, that was one of the, in my opinion, I agree with you, one of the tighter sketches
yeah,
that we did shoot that like felt like that, very much of that era, the zooming in, zooming out, like kind of all over the place style. I'll see if I can find that, and if there's not copyrighted music in it, then I'll add it into this guy.
And then the other one that I just personally like, because I think it's so silly, is I think it was, I want to say it's the competition, but I think we titled it with the French, like Le Competition.
Right.
It was like so bizarre. Like it was black and white. There's like that, like like choir, like and then we're like, it's a silent sketch other than the music.
Yeah,
but
it's
we
subtitled.
have like subtitles in French.
Yeah, it's very
very
bizarre.
out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I watch it and I think it's so silly.
Yeah, there's a handful of ones that were really funny. Some of them we kind of swung for the fences with. Some of them were pretty dark. That hell sketch that we did. Do you remember that one?
Hell.
That was a pretty dark. Some of those lines were pretty dark. And you know, the classic Big Dick Gill. I mean,
that's a banger.
That was an original music video that we shot about our friend Gil Garibaldo. Super fun. And a song that came from us just nicknaming our friend Big Dick Gill after a point. There was a version that I made. There was going to be If We Made More, called Small Dick John. I don't know if you ever listened to that version.
I don't think I have.
But dude, I sent it to John, like a fully written out like version of that recorded, and he's like, "Ah, cool." It's like, "Yeah, all right, well, yeah, we don't have to shoot that one."
Yeah, I think poor John. I think there were a few sketches that he didn't want to shoot. That
he was definitely like, he found himself as kind of like the butt of the joke in some of the sketches for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was one where like the recovery, or I don't remember if that's what it's called, where it's like where he's a recovering alcoholic and but he finds different ways to, he doesn't drink alcohol, but he finds different ways to get alcohol into his system.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I remember him not really liking that one, and he's like, "My mom's gonna watch this," and it's like, yeah.
You're like, "Hey, man, our moms are all not proud of us for different reasons. Join the club."
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. But it was definitely one of those things where I think that we did the absolute best with the production and everything that we could for where we were at in our careers and the money that we had to put into it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We tried to make it look and sound as good as possible, but I also remember the boom mic sometimes being like, very, very rigged.
Yeah. And I mean, there were also like quite a few sketches that we shot that we just didn't put out because they're like it
The
didn't end
technical
up looking.
aspects.
Yeah, like
Where I would get it and I was like, oh no,
the
this
sound was unusable.
I was like, this sound is awful. It's
Yeah.
legit, like the whole time, and it takes you out of it.
Yeah.
That was the thing with shout out to some guys who were doing it around the same time as that figured out the technical aspect was a group called Dead Kevin.
Oh yeah.
This is around the time Dead Kevin and Goatface were the two sketch groups in LA where I was like, these guys freaking are I don't know who their team is or whatever, but they were nailing it. And Aristotle Athira, great director, and went on to do Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. USC film grad. He was very good with the technical aspects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And had those guys had the budget to they invested in themselves to make and sound all their sketches look really good and stuff like that. But
you know who else had a
Women.
really good Women?
That was good.
but
Jake
also,
Wiseman's group, yeah.
Hush Money. Do you remember them? They were, I guess, like maybe a class of comics that just came in right after us. It was like Ben Bazuna, Monica.
Oh yeah,
Dude, their sketches had really good production
yeah.
quality.
Yeah.
And they were really funny too.
Yeah, I remember Ben Bazuna. He had some sketches go very viral at that time, which I was like, whoa! Like anytime you see a comic buddy, especially back then, it was so much harder in a way to go viral. It's even hard. It's harder in a different way to go viral now, but viral was longer lasting back then, where you could use that as like a credit if one video went viral. You're like, this dude has a viral video on YouTube. That was like a credit.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, if you have 1 million viewers on an Instagram clip, that's great and it's huge, but it's like you can't use that as like a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's more common for people to go viral now, the way the internet works and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, it's been awesome having you on the podcast, on the Roadcast, going down some memory lane.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to plug or anything like that?
Let's see. Plugging. I think if this comes out, well, actually, I don't know. I feel like I should confirm with Justin Alexio first. I think he told me I was going to do his Pupusas and Punchlines show again.
Oh, heck yeah. That's a great show.
Yeah, but I got to double check with him. He gave me the date of December 1st. But
So, follow Omar on Instagram.
Yeah.
For his updates on his shows and stuff. And it's Omar X Nava?
At Omar X Nava.
At Omar X Nava on Instagram. Love you, buddy. Hope we get to do, and we will do, many more of these gigs.
Yes, sir.
And give Omar a follow. He's just a good dude, funny guy, and someone you want to surround yourself with in this crazy world.
Yeah, you make it to the inner circle, you might get yourself an invite to a queso party.
He makes phenomenal queso to the point where some people might think I'm gluttonous when I go over to his house parties for that. All right, love you guys. Bye.
Bye.